Is Avowed worth our time? We're about to find out. Welcome, everyone, to episode 216 of 1 Hour, 1 Decision, 1H1D. I am Chris.
And I am Tom.
And we take 60 minutes and play a, well, not this time, random game, because everyone on this episode really wanted to play this game, and we are very excited to talk about it. We are talking about Avowed by Obsidian Games, and this came out in February of 2024. This is crazy. And guess what, Tom? We have a guest.
What?
Yeah. Guest and friend of the show, Dave Jackson from Tales from the Backlog and a Top 3 podcast. Dave, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us. Talking about.
Thank you for having me on. And we've been talking about doing an episode about Avowed for a long time now. We're finally here. It's good to be here.
We are here, and we are super excited. Yes, because this is supposed to come out back in September, I think.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's
months.
Many months have gone by. But yeah, we've been chatting about this, and we're so glad you're able to join us here for this. Now, what kind of game is this?
You're jumping, Chris.
Oh, I am. I did. You're right. Well, I play this on the PC. This game is on Xbox and PC, and it was 72.04 gigabytes on the PC. Tom, what about you?
74.78 gigabytes on the Series S. So a little bit bigger, but in the grander scheme of things, once you're up past 70, what's another gig, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're right. And although I guess we could talk about it in our likes and dislikes here, but yeah. And now we could talk about what kind of game this is.
Well, I put first-person action RPG, but I probably should have put an asterisk there.
Yeah, because I put first/third-person action RPG.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, because it's possible to play it that way.
I was unaware for almost my entire hour.
I didn't know until someone mentioned in Discord the other day that they were playing third person. I was like, "What?
Yeah,
third person? Okay,
yeah. You could play it. It's possible. It is possible." And what else is possible is there is a game loop, and we need to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go first. I put step into the role of the king's envoy and investigate a soul plague through dialogue and combat.
I put down complete tasks to progress the story and your character's skills.
I would say for a game loop, build your mushroom-infested character, explore, fight goblins, and collect treasure.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, yeah, you do collect a lot of treasure in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about that. Let's talk about the stuff that we liked about this game, guys.
I like godlike, like the idea of this. Like your character's got this weird kind of coral/plant stuff going on.
Yeah, it's like your character was touched by a god when they were in the womb or something, but it's like it could be any god. You just happen to be touched by the god of fungus or something like that. It could have been something much more socially acceptable, we'll say.
Right. And I think what's weird is everyone, I guess we'll kind of talk about the story a little bit here, at least for the first hour that we played it. They all don't know which god actually touched you.
Mm-hmm.
And so every god like that you've come across, you're like, I don't know who this guy is. Like, who's this? And and the world reacts to that. It reacts to your face, and they even like put that in the character creation, right? They like, just so you know, people will react to you whether you have, which part of the character creation. There's a toggle to turn the godlike features on or off. So I thought that was kind of cool. It was kind of cool to have that. Like, I mean, it was a pretty deep character customization screen, I gotta say.
Yeah, like so many mushroom options. You could be a Last of Us monster if you wanted to be. God. For sure.
Yeah. You can make it so you don't see your eyes.
Yeah, and they'll be like, characters will react to you, and then like they in your little character intro, they're like, your character was ostracized for being a mushroom freak when you were a kid. I wonder if that just gets worse the less and less human face that you have to show.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
One thing that I liked is for an RPG that's like this steeped in lore, because this is in the Pillars of Eternity universe. There were 2 whole RPGs in that series. For as steeped in this lore that there is, you are in the game playing really quickly in this game. Like within 10 minutes. the introduction, the character creator, all of that's finished and you're playing the game. And I thought that was awesome, especially for long RPGs that tend to have drawn out lore heavy introductions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if it's 10 minutes for Tom, especially on the character creator, but I will agree. Yes, the there's a great setup for this. They get you right into it. And it's because it's Obsidian, man, right? Because Obsidian just knows how to build an RPG, at least get you in, get you going. And I really appreciate that. I know I'm fanning out. I'm probably spoiling a little bit of my final thoughts here, but I was just really appreciative of like the care that they had in like just getting people invested in this game. So yeah, that was really cool. And you know, especially for me, like I'm not generally a like this high fantasy or fantasy world player, so the fact that was still got invested was kind of cool. So what about you, Tom? What are the things that you like?
I think you both kind of touched on it. I really enjoyed the opening intro cinematics. I thought they were really cool looking, but also great at kind of setting the stakes and setting the tone of what you're about to dive into. I think the environments looked interesting. Like not only did they look pretty, they have like this sea life thing kind of like mixed into the normal like forest foliage, which gives it kind of a distinct look versus like generic RPG that I could be playing, you know?
Yeah, right. It's not, you're not just in like inundated with browns and greens. There's like pops of color here and there because of like the fluorescent or iridescent like flora and fauna.
It's got to be so hard now to make a fantasy RPG that looks visually different from every other fantasy RPG, but Avowed definitely looks like it has its own kind of color palette and design to it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still some drab areas, but like they're not the norm. I'll say it like that. I thought that was pretty cool too. I will say because I am not much of a Bethesda player per se, the combat in this game felt really good.
Yeah, one of the things that because I played Oblivion, Morrowind, and Skyrim a ton, and one of the things that I think that pretty much everyone can agree with is that hitting stuff with a sword doesn't feel great in those games. It feels like you're hitting stuff with wet noodles, basically. Like there's no physics. For all the physics that there is in the rest of the game, there's not much for when you hit stuff with a weapon. And Avowed is like, we're going to have stuff ragdolling all over the place. Like even with the dagger that you start with, you kill a goblin and it goes flying off like 10 feet in another direction. So that goes a long way. It's like, it reminds me of Dragon's Dogma, where like the combat's not the deepest combat ever made, but you can smack a goblin across the entire map and it feels awesome.
Yeah. And you know what it is? I feel like it's just a very subtle thing. It's just when you connect, there's a little pause to make you feel like you made a connection with that character and it's just so much more satisfying than just watching you swing a sword and then see a number. I mean, there's still numbers in here, don't get me wrong, but it's still that like just that little thunk when you hit something that was just like, and you could dual wield. That was pretty cool too.
Yeah, I liked the magic. Did either of you try using magic?
Yes, magic did feel satisfying.
Not too much on my end, but still, like, I mean, whatever the tutorial kind of walks you through using. But
yeah, it was pretty cool to have, you know, your basic wand attack and then 3 or 4 spells and then like a special grimoire attack, like all of those kind of rotating around. I thought that was really cool. It's another thing that like using magic often doesn't feel great in action games, but in Avowed it felt pretty cool.
And like everything takes stamina, so I guess they kind of follow the. I don't know. I haven't really played a Bethesda RPG. I don't know if there's a stamina bar there, but
yeah, there is.
There is, okay,
but not. So, it doesn't govern everything that you do the way it does in Avowed.
But it was just, you know, even with the magic, you still have to deal with the stamina there. But yeah, this is like my first time I actually was like, you know what, let me try a magic character. And because I'm usually like the guy who's playing the bruiser, the tank or something like that. So I'm like, let's try this out. And it felt good. Felt good to do some magic.
Yeah. One other thing that I really liked was the verticality and like the level design of the places that you're in. And it's something that I hear is even better as you go further and as you're like exploring open world spaces.
Yeah.
The tutorial dungeon is just like you're going through like a castle, fortress type place, but still like lots of things to climb up on. You always felt rewarded for like poking around in corners. Like that stuff is great. you're going to give players freedom to explore, then make it fun to explore, and then give me treats when I explore around. I felt like Avowed is full of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
I especially liked that the game highlights the loot, like,
yes,
so I can see it and I know I should go over there or not. Like, I can do kind of a quick scan. I didn't feel like I was wasting my time at any point.
Yeah. And you had the visual audio cue as well, like the kind of shimmering noise and things like that. So you're like, okay, there's something over here. I can probably find something here. So I really appreciated that.
We haven't talked about it at all, but I enjoyed the banter between the NPCs, especially once you get a couple of them together that are following you around and they start talking to, they're talking to each other, not just to you.
Yeah,
I like that.
It is always good to have characters feel like they're their own characters. They're not just there to serve you, basically. Like the two characters that you start out with, they don't like each other, so their banter is good.
Yeah, I agree. And look, I mean, this game has a lot of dialogue, and I appreciate the fact that you can handle these situations not in a non-violent way too, because with one of the characters that you meet, you can just leave them there, or take them with you, or I guess you can attack them. I don't remember. I don't know if I didn't take that choice. I said, come with me. But that, who knows, maybe that has like repercussions later on in the game because of what you did. And I thought that was pretty cool, just having that possibility of something happening later in the future. I was like, okay, I appreciate it. What else you got there, Tom?
I think pretty much we've covered most of it, but I wanted to point out that there are lots of ways to tailor the experience for optimal enjoyment. So I like when the game shows me where the loot is, but if you don't want that, you could turn it off.
Yeah.
If you wanted to play in third person, you can. If you want to use a sword and a shield, that's an option. If you want to use a sword and hold a magic book in your offhand, you could do that. Like, it's a very customizable experience. And for a long RPG, which is what I assume this is going to turn into, I think that's very important.
In fact, you can also play as a melee character. As I think actually Dave, one of your folks over in your Discord mentioned that they're playing One Punch Man essentially.
Yeah, they're playing fists and shield. Basically, they said it's a Captain America build. Basically.
Oh, there you go. That's what it was.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah, and I agree with all that. Customization was great, and I just appreciated the fact that again, with the godlike, you could turn it on or off if you have kind of like a phobia. It kind of reminded me of the grounded arachnophobia mode and things like that. Because it's a little disturbing. I gotta say, and probably something I'm talking about in my dislikes. But anyway, it's if no one else has anything here, shall we move on to our dislikes, or you got anything else?
Yeah, it sounds like you want to rant a little bit about how your character looks. So why don't you start,
Dave? If you have anything before you want.
Just real quick, the music is great too. I really enjoyed the music. It's kind of backgrounded because you're fighting or your people are talking or something like that. But it does kind of have this magical quality to it, which, it's just really pleasant to listen to. It's a really good looking game. I think like aesthetically, it's cool. It's a very cool game. And then we kind of talked about it with the way combat feels, but there's something like if you play a lot of first person games, like first person movement and like game feel doesn't always feel great. It's often fine. And as soon as I started playing Avowed, I was like, oh, this feels good to play. I can't pinpoint everything that's going on, but like some of the combat stuff we talked about is like very clear. But like basically as soon as I started playing this, you start running around, you jump and you mantle up on ledges, you fight a couple things, you're like, this just feels really good to play. Like this, I mean, it's Obsidian. They're masters of RPGs, but like Outer Worlds wasn't like this, it's not like they just copied and pasted movement from one game into another, so it was just like a thing that stuck out. It's like, oh, this is a professional, like capital P, professionally made game,
Yeah, agreed. Tom, I'm surprised. And I just realized I didn't say my general like here, but there is manual save options here. And you can, it is a first person game. You can see your feet. So good on them, because they were like, hey, we got third person. Hey, we got to make sure you can see your feet in first person too. So well done. Game of the year already for me. Anyway, all right. So let's then roll into our dislikes. Then who wants to start?
I thought you were ready to segue us, and then we went derailed there into your love fest.
All right. Anyway, so I will say that like looking at the cover art, which is amazing. I didn't realize that was going to be my face. And that freaked me out. And I was like, oh my God, like I have like these growths on my face, and it just, ugh. When I saw it, it just completely like made me feel all icky inside. And like, you know, it made me think of junior year of high school with like acne and everything. Like, oh no, not this again. It's just like, yeah, it was pretty disturbing for me. I don't know what you guys thought about the.
I turned it off and I used the like plant hair because I felt much more comfortable with that.
Huh. I made a real mushroom boy. Like I did a lot of it in the character creator. Like I didn't like cover there's one where you can just be like, your head is a mushroom basically. Yeah. I didn't do that one, but I did have like big fungal growths coming off of my head. They're like pink and blue and stuff. It was like, I was like, oh, you're going to give me these weird options. I'm actually going to like, because I usually make a pretty plain looking character in RPGs, but you're going to give me these weird fungus options. I'm going all out. So I like that.
Just leaned in.
Accept it. I find it. All right, that's fine. But I'm just saying I had regrets with that, but but that was my thought. You guys can go ahead and
I don't like the character I mean the character cremation is great, but I don't like when it lives where it lives because I end up getting stuck there. I need your character's a hooded character and we'll deal with it later kind of thing. That tends to go better for me because I want to play the game and I can get really bogged down in character creation, especially when the game tells you like you can't change this later.
Yeah,
which this one does.
That is a dislike. Like, why can't your guy get a little mushroom haircut at some point?
Little snip on the side.
Yeah. I feel like that's a really standard thing in these big, long RPGs to be able to respec basically everything about your character at some point. Like it's magic. Who cares?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Well, because you're so unique. You're so different from, and no one knows which one.
This is you were touched by the god. This is intelligent design and you can't mess with that.
Exactly. And well, you don't know which god. And that's the other part of it either. Like, you can't tell the god that is.
You can't ask for permission to get a haircut.
So it's a problem, but I guess that's what you're trying to solve as well in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And
my one dislike is I don't like the mouse and keyboard controls for Magic characters.
Really?
First person games, I will like give them a shot with mouse and keyboard on PC because mouse aiming is good. I grew up playing first person games with controllers, so I'm not like PC master race here, but there's too much going on with the keyboard controls for Magic. You have like the entire left side of the keyboard to account for, and it's too much. The controller options for using Magic are way better. It's like hold the trigger, then press a face button to do a spell instead of like, I need to hold down a button and then reach up to the number keys. And it was too much. I didn't like those at all.
Okay.
It's funny because I put down that I was fumbling the controls on the controller.
There we go.
I thought that I would like it better with the mouse and keyboard because it's a first person game. And I grew up playing first person games with mouse and keyboard.
Yeah. But it might be easier than for you.
I mean, to be fair, depending on the play style, right? If you're just playing like bow and arrow or sword and shield, it's probably a fine mouse and keyboard. It's just when you're switching up. But like the other thing I didn't even realize there's like a character with your companions and stuff like that. You get to kind of control them a little bit and so there's that. So yes, that adds complications to the mouse and keyboard.
I didn't know that you could control them at all. That didn't. I didn't know you could
do that. Maybe I missed that. I was too busy. You know what it is like you hit 1, 2, 3, 4 to use spells on the keyboard, but you also use WASD to move your character, and those use the same fingers. So it's like I'm running. There's like. In the hour, there's a big guy with a warhammer that you fight, and he's like doing big warhammer spins at you, and I'm like trying to run around, get spells ready, and it's like I can't use my pinky finger for 3 things at the same time, or my ring finger or whatever. So it was just a bit too much with all the options.
Yeah, like well, if you hit the E button, it does pause the game, so you can kind of like go through your mouse wheel, like action wheel,
It'll
so to
pull
speak.
up the skills.
Yeah. So you could like at that point kind of like take a breath and be like, okay, what can I do now? And it's like that's essentially the same wheel that you use to issue commands with your companions.
Okay.
So
for what it's worth, I did use a little bit of magic because my solution to that problem that you were having there, Dave, is I had picked like you get a level up choice and you get to pick between 3 different powers. And I picked the like plant and snare power. And so I blasted this guy, Mr. Warhammer, with that. He would get stuck and that would give me the couple of seconds to like hit him with range stuff.
That does sound good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just tie him up.
Just choices, guys. Choices.
Yeah.
I know Baldur's Gate 3 has like basically ruined every RPG after this, but like I've just been spoiled because I wish there was just more ways to avoid combat. Like if there was like just more clever ways to do things, a little bit more like environmental stuff. At least in the first hour, I did not see that.
Yeah,
but, like,
it doesn't seem like that kind of RPG to me either.
Yeah. So it was like again, this is I'm sure it's a much larger game than this, so I can't fault them for that in the first hour. But you know, this I guess like this first hour is essentially like the tutorial, like learning some of the combat, some of the, you know, you deal with a boss fight with this Warhammer guy and just learn a little bit of the world too. And so, you know.
Yeah, there's no reasoning with the soul plague, I think is what it is. So, you know, you could reason with the captive prisoner character and you could reason with the other guy and stuff, but some of the characters are just too far gone.
You just got to deal with them.
Speaking of things that are too far gone, I don't like that the first batch of enemies that you fight are lizard people. I want to play as a lizard people, not kill lizard people. So I was not a fan of that.
Not touched by the lizard god. Sorry.
Yeah,
Tom.
right. I was disappointed in that. Where was that option? I got tons of like tutorial notifications, like in not that the tutorial was overblown, but like the tutorial like sends you into like your log or whatever. And then in that log, it's like, here, there are 30 unread notifications. And I'm like, do I need to read those now? Like, is this important? It's going to bother me that I have 30 unread notifications over here.
Yes.
I didn't end up reading them because I didn't want to spend my hour in reading through a journal.
This is like I have like a combo like dislike that's along those lines too.
Okay.
There's so many proper nouns in the game because it is in this like deep lore continuing universe. So they throw out all these things that you're like, I don't know what that is. And they do the cool thing where like in dialogue, you can press a button to bring up like a little glossary and quickly just be like, oh, that's what that is. Okay, continue the conversation. But there's one of those words in every line of the dialogue.
Yeah.
So if you're like dedicated to learning the lore, if you're new to this universe, you're going to spend a lot of time breaking up conversations, slowing down pacing to read definitions in the glossary.
I feel like Final Fantasy, the more recent one, was it 15 or no?
16 did this.
16 did that, right? I think theirs was a little bit more flashier, but yeah, like I really appreciated that too. It was helpful just to kind of keep, you know, where like who these people are in terms of like all that stuff. That was.
This is the dislike section, Chris.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's helpful, but it's constant. That's the dislike part of it.
Yes. Well, you're handling this correctly, Dave. It's my co-host who doesn't understand our show.
I have a dislike. All right. One of the things, because clearly this is coming from the age of them kind of taking over Bethesda's Fallout, Sky, whatever. Anyway, the way that the characters emote for the most part is pretty good, but like outside of that, they just feel a bit stiff. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, I know that we talked about the fact that they bicker amongst each other or they have those like little pieces of dialogue, but like if you just stare at someone, they just kind of stand there. There's like no idle animation, or they're not like doing things on their own. I know, Dave, you mentioned like it was kind of like the world is kind of just reacting to you. But I felt like it was just like they would only react to you,
right?
And
like
otherwise just kind of do their thing.
Like the characters don't exist just to serve you as someone to talk to. They interact with each other, and that's good.
Yeah.
But I definitely I know what you mean about, especially if your hour took you into the first city that you go to, then you'll see that NPCs just kind of standing around. And there are parts of the presentation aspect of this game that I think you can tell where time and money were saved by not having NPCs run around on full schedules and stuff like that. And it's fine with me that, they didn't take an extra 2 years to make this game because they decided to do that, but you definitely do notice it. And I've seen that in like reviews that I've seen and stuff like that it feels like a game where like if you're walking through the streets and like not really stopping and watching, it seems fine. But if you just like park yourself and watch what NPCs are doing, you'll be like, oh, right, this guy's just kind of standing there.
Yeah. Or they kind of just
waiting for the player to do something.
Right. I got a quest for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like I think it's also because like games that are just like a Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 just came out recently, and like from what I've heard, I haven't played the game, but like I've heard there's like that world just completely reacts to anything you do. Like people like look at you the wrong way if you start to steal things. Like it was just like it's crazy like how much was dumped into that. So it's like you would think they would do they have like basically infinite funds, so to speak, with Microsoft behind them, like they would be able to throw some of that back into the game to have like a more living world, so to speak, even though they say this is the living lands that you're in. So
it definitely does have like the feel of, it simultaneously has the feel of like the big budget AAA type of game. But then also there are parts where like if you're savvy, if you've played a bunch of the, especially like really big budget things, Baldur's Gate 3 is a good example. Like you can start to see where each of these games decided like enough is enough. If we take this too far, that's going to be too much. We have to stop somewhere in each of these points,
Yeah. You have to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah. Otherwise you'll be one of those games that's in development for 15 years and just constantly getting too big. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. I did notice object popping when I was playing. That might just be a limitation of the Series S, but it was noticeable and it did bug me. So it's on my list, so I'm saying it.
I will also note that when I first launched the game, there was a 3 gigabyte update.
Yeah,
that was kind of gross. So 70, there was like 72 gigabytes, and then by the way, it's another 3 gigabytes.
Oh, that's the 2.7 gigs that I've got. That's where it is.
That's probably what it is. Just a note for people that don't have large hard drives or multiple hard drives.
Other thoughts? I think is time.
Yeah, let's get into it. How Long to Beat says this game takes about 17 to 34 hours to complete.
That's a pretty wide swing there, Chris.
Pretty wide swing. But I think it's just because if you're just trying to mainline it, you can probably beat it in 17 hours, but there are a lot of side quests and bounties and blah, 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 things like that you can do, which could potentially extend the game. And this is xCloud capable, so you can play this on the go, and all that good stuff is there.
I will say that of everyone I know who's playing this game, no one has finished it at the time of recording. Other than like the people who got review codes, nobody I know has finished it. So the people who are playing it are not just beelining through the story. They're taking the time to explore the open zones and do side quests and stuff like that, which is obviously what you're meant to be doing in a game like this. So I anticipate if I go back to Avowed, no spoilers for the final decision, I think it would take quite a bit longer than 17 hours for me.
All right, Tom, give us your thoughts.
Dave already covered it, but I noticed the Pillars of Eternity reference, and I was like, that's a weird thing to name drop if it's not connected to Pillars of Eternity. I've never played Pillars of Eternity, so I didn't know. But yeah, they're set in the same universe, as Dave said. This was originally pitched as Obsidian's version of Skyrim. No big surprise there, right? We've been talking Skyrim, Elder Scrolls a lot here. But the designers, I guess, went divergent during the game design, during the game development. And they say that they shifted towards a more narrative-driven experience. That's how they're saying they're different from, the Bethesda games. And that also the companions are integral to the story.
Mhm.
So, who you pick up and how you treat them are important to the end result, though you can't romance any of them. Romancing is not an option in this game.
Is that trademarked by BioWare or something?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting enough for the developers to call it out. Like, don't try to romance these NPCs.
They need to set expectations with games like this with companion characters and stuff. I think it's interesting you say that. One of the little notes that I had is that one of the companions, I think it's one of the first ones you meet, it's a fish guy, and he's voiced by the voice actor who did Garrus in the Mass Effect series.
Oh.
So on the note of, memorable companions and possible romances, that has been like a just direct a bullet to certain hearts around gaming world when they hear Garrus's voice coming out of one of these companions.
Oh, okay. Good
that
to
is excellent. The only other thing that I noted here was that the dialogue choices you pick do impact those relationships. I guess that's kind of obvious. So while you can't romance them, you can build your relationship with the companions, and that'll be important later. So keep that in mind as you're playing. Apparently there are also guns in this game. I didn't get that far, but so if you want to use a gun and a shield, that is an option.
Why not?
Yeah, I know someone who's doing a build that is like spellbook and gun, which is a very fun combination.
All right.
That's amazing. All right. How do you what did they wave the gun as a wand? Or something?
I'm not sure. I think you read spells out of the book while shooting with the pistol in the other hand.
Interesting. All right. Well, gentlemen, we need to find out, are we keeping this game on our respective hard drives, or are we casting it away into the living, what is this? The living lands? The living lands?
Into the sea. A lot of water out there.
There's a lot of water too, actually. Yeah, cast it there.
And the seas are dangerous. It just opens with a shipwreck, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I guess, Dave, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, sure. I am like very busy with other games right now, but I had a blast with the first hour of Avowed. I will definitely be going back to play this at some point. And it was not I think that had we not decided to do this episode, I would not have even downloaded it and booted it up. And so this, hey, Dave, just play an hour. That hook within the first hour, like I said, long RPGs don't often get you into it and hooked that early on. Like they're a lot. RPGs is the classic, like, hey, it gets good 25 hours into the game genre, right? Avowed wastes no time. It's a great first hour. I'm definitely going to keep playing.
Nice. I guess I'll say mine because clearly I'm in agreement with Dave. I really enjoyed my time and definitely want to see where the story takes me. And spoilers, I did go past the hour. And
there we go.
You monster.
It was after the hour. I did it. Okay. I did it after the hour. And then I was like, okay, I got to keep playing this game. I need to know what's going on in this world.
As opposed to before the hour, Chris. How would that even work?
That's all right. You got me there, Tom. You got me there. Well, why don't you tell us what you thought?
Well, shucks. The game is really fun to play and my hour went by really quickly. And I enjoyed playing this. The only wrinkle for me was that I wasn't really feeling the Xbox controls because I'm not super comfy playing first person with, on a controller. I've never have been, probably never will be. So my solution that I only discovered at minute like 55 or whatever was like, oh, I could play this in third person. So I started doing that and I liked that. But I think what I'd like to do is pivot and try playing it on the PC with a mouse and keyboard and see how that goes. Maybe not, probably won't use magic, so I might be saved there, Dave. But we'll see. The sword and board, maybe,
Yeah, there's some fun times there. All right, cool. Awesome. So all across the board, thumbs up. We all liked it. Well done, Obsidian. So those are our thoughts. Let us know what you think of this game. Follow us and say hello on Blue Sky at 1H1D, at Twitter at TC1H1D, on Threads at TC1H1D, or shoot us an email at TC1H1D@gmail.com. Check out our next streams on Twitch at twitch.tv/1h1d. And hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, maybe send us a comment down below and convince Tom to not play Sword and Board and do something else. I don't know. That'd be fun. But or tell us what your favorite Obsidian game is, because I'd like to know, because Obsidian has been great so far, at least in my book.
KOTOR 2.
KOTOR 2. 1H1D is part of the QTB network, and if you like any great gaming content, check it all out at quitthebuild.com/network. Now, before we find out what we're playing next, Dave, once again, thank you so much for stopping by and helping us figure out if this game was good or not. And please tell everyone where they can find you on the internet.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you both for the invite to come on. It's like I said before we started recording, I've been listening to the show for years at this point. Always enjoy the show, so it's great to come on and chat with you. And then for people who are hearing and seeing me for the first time, I'm the host of Tales from the Backlog, which is a weekly gaming deep dive show. So every week I take a different game, usually something a little bit older. It's not a retro show, but I live 2-3 years ago in games, basically. And I have a guest come on the show. Chris has been on the show twice, I believe, at this point, to do a deep dive with me. We have episodes about the Forgotten City and Pony Island on the feed, which were really fun. And every episode we do the deep dive for a couple hours, and it's no spoiler for a while. So if you haven't played, you can listen to any episode of my show, and then we will warn people when spoilers start, so that you can jump out, or, if you want the spoilers, stick around. So that's Tales from the Backlog, and it's everywhere where you can find this show, not on Quit the Build, but you can find it on your podcast apps. The show is also on YouTube as well. Tales from the Backlog, everywhere where you get your shows.
Nice. Awesome. And you do have your top 3 as well. And
I do, yeah. That show's, it's on ice now, but there are over 100 top 3 list episodes in the feed if you want to search a top 3 podcast. And that's a comedy show, so it's a very different vibe from Tales from the Backlog. So yeah, top 3 lists. We did movie recasting with terrible actors. We draft topics. It's just a kind of structured but hang out with my friends, have a good time, make each other laugh type of show. So that's called a top 3 podcast.
There you go. Awesome. Thank you again, Dave. All right. Now, Tom, we need to find out what we're playing next, don't we?
That's usually how this goes.
Yeah. Usually, you're right. All right. So we're going to hit that surprising button and figure out what we are playing next. Here we go. Okay. Eternal Strands.
Ooh.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Are you? Well, never heard of it. So I guess one of us is at least excited about it.
I've seen it. I've seen it on the Xbox recommendations.
Okay.
I get those. I'm sure a lot of people who listen to our show get those too.
There you go.
Or it's like, hey, you should check out these games. They're new to the Game Pass.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be trying that out and letting you know about it. But until then, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next one.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.